Hey there friends, how's it going? David Potts here with Song Notes, and I'm going to show you how to play the song Sundown in this lesson. This is a classic, a Gordon Lightfoot song from 1974. Tons of fun. There's not that many chords you need, right? But the really distinctive thing about this song is this voicing of the E that he's using, right? It's not an E major, and it's not an E minor. It's just an E5, which means it's just the root and the fifth. It gives it a nice neutral sound, but you combine it with these open strings on the high end, and you can use those same open strings in your B and in your A even, and it really gives just a nice quality of making this sort of stand out in your ear. So I'm going to teach you those chord shapes. I'll also teach you the regular chord shapes. If you just want to play this song using common chords, your common E, your common A, your common B7, right? You can do it that way as well. It's a bit easier. So I got that all in here, and as a separate download and a separate video, I have a chord guide for this song. It doesn't give you any of the lyrics or any of the copyrighted stuff, but it does look at the chord shapes and shows you some alternate ways to play those chords, and even some of the chords that Gordon isn't playing, but just different ways to play the E, right? Explaining how this E5 relates to this E5 and how these are different from the E major and E minor. I'll sort of talk about those. So that chord guide is available well. It has a separate video. You can get all this in the links below and also on my website, playsongnotes.com. So check all that out and let's dive on to the lesson. I'll be capo second fret. That lets us play along with Gordon. Let's jump on into it and I'll see you all on the other side. Let's go. All right, so let's kick this one off, y'all, by looking at the intro progression we're going to use. So again, this song only uses these three progressions. Not a lot going on, which is really great, and we'll tackle them one at a time. And first up, it's the intro. So this intro only uses two chords here, right? We have an E and we have an E7. Now, I just played them the sort of conventional way you learn these chords when you're first getting started, just a regular E major chord, right? And then this E7 with this note added right here. But here's the deal. The way that Gordon Lightfoot plays these chords is different. If you listen or watch him play it live, you can see he's doing something else. So I want to explain that also. But at the end of the day, when I get to strumming and everything, I'm going to come back to those regular versions of the E and the E7 because these are much easier to do. And if you can't do these Gordon Lightfoot voicings, you can ultimately just go back to a regular E and it's gonna get you 80-90% of the same sound, right? So really quick, let's look at this. So this E and this E7. Now, this is tricky. I had never learned it like this before. Basically, what you're doing here, I have it written out in tab form as well as the fretboard diagram. From thickest to thinnest string, it's gonna be open, second, second, fourth, open, open. Okay, that's gonna be our E. And then for our E7, all we're gonna do is put our middle finger down on the second string, third fret. Okay? So what am I doing here? Now this is tricky. So my index finger, my left index finger is playing the fourth and the fifth strings, and it's barring, meaning it's pushing down multiple strings at once, right? The good thing is I don't have to bar the entire second fret. That would be a lot more of a workout. We're only doing the fourth and fifth string, but here's the tricky part, is you kind of have to bend your finger, ideally, so that you can still let those thinnest two strings ring out, right? If you don't bend your finger, even if you get the fourth and fifth string barred, it could muffle and mute that thinnest two strings. You don't want that, right? So if you're gonna make this work, what you have to do is sort of bend your index finger up. Again, if you can't do this, you can fall back to a regular E, but just sort of practice that bar first. And then after the bar, put your pinky or left ring finger. I recommend my pinky because later on in the verse, we're gonna have this other chord which is gonna have your pinky in that same spot. So if you can keep your pinky there, it sort of sets you up for success, right? So it's open, second, second, and then your pinky is on the third string, and this is going to be the fourth fret. And again, these frets are relative to the capo. So the capo is 0, okay? I just think it is easier for me to explain it that way. But yeah, so open, second, second, fourth, with your pinky there, and then open, open. Okay, so this is the first chord we're going to need. And then this E7, it's the same exact thing. All we're doing is adding our middle finger to this note. This is a D note, okay? This is our E, this is our E7. And notice that this note is the same note that's added to the regular E major to make it an E7, okay? So hopefully you understand what's going on here. Do I understand? Okay, so those are the chords that we're going to use for the E. That's a chord that Gordon uses, right? Now he uses that chord throughout the entire song. When I'm playing the verse and chorus, I tend to like to kind of go back to the regular E sometimes. But it is nice to get this, especially for the intro if you can. It really gives you that Gordon sound. Now, a quick bit of just music theory as far as what's happening here. What are the notes that you're actually playing? Well, technically, this is not an E major, and it's not an E minor. It's what I've seen referred to as an E5. And what I mean by that is you're only playing the note E, and then the tone that's a perfect fifth above it, which is a B, right? So if you look at the note of all these 6 strings, we have an E, this is a B, this is another E, this is a B, this is a B. These are the same 2 notes, right? And then the thinnest string is an E. So it's all E's and B's. That makes it just the root and the fifth. And that's basically, you might see that referred to as a power chord as well, right? It's not major, it's not minor. It has a very neutral sound to it, right? That's an E major because we have this G sharp, right? That's an E minor because, because we have that regular G. So the G or the G sharp is what it makes an E either minor or major. If you have an E and then a B, which is the 1 and the 5. Don't worry about that though if you can't wrap your head around it, or if it's over your head, it doesn't really matter. Just understand that that's sort of what makes this chord sort of have the character that it does. Now, if you're going to use the open version of E and E7, one tip if you want to sound a little bit more like Gordon is you can sort of either mute the 3rd string or don't push it down firmly. Right, so see how I'm sort of muting that 3rd string? I'm just sort of leaning my ring finger into it, right? This keeps it an E5 because this 3rd string is all that makes it either major or minor. And if you don't play the 3rd string, it sort of takes it out of the equation, right? This came up when I was teaching a Nirvana song a while ago as well, where Kurt Cobain would do this sort of this version of the E as well, where he would sort of muffle that 3rd string, it sounded like. So anyway, that's your E and that's your E7. If you do it the normal way, and if you do it the Gordon way, whoops. Okay, that's how he plays it. Now let's look at strumming for the intro, okay, here. So the intro is gonna be 8 measures total, right? Every measure has 4 counts in this song. And you're going to be on E for 3/4 of the time, literally. It's literally the 3rd cluster of things. Where we're on the E7, we're going to use a different strumming pattern here. So let's look at the top left here, just the single pattern, the main pattern, right? It's going to be a bass down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, okay? Bass down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up. Bass down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, bass, down. When I say bass, what that means is a down strum technically, but you see how the little line under the arrow there? That means I'm only playing the bass note of that chord. So this is the full chord, and the bass note is just this E. So it's bass, down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, okay? I recommend sort of keeping your hand moving in the 8th note motions of down and up constantly. Bass, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, okay? That sort of makes the sort of pattern easier to get into a groove with, in my opinion. So practice that, take it slow if you need to, and then if you can, sort of try to give those up strums a bit more oomph, a bit more kick. So I'm just gonna repeat E. I'm gonna repeat this it's an 8 count strum. I'm gonna repeat it a bunch of times just so you can hear it, okay? Get in your E, okay. Bass down, up, down, up, down, up, up, down, up, bass down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, now technically if you happen to brush the string on some of your counts where you're not supposed to, that's okay, right? It's okay, it's better that your strum feels organic and natural and that you're not sort of just following any notation to a T. Like if you want to creep in a little bit more of a strum or a feeling or whatever, in general, that's okay with music. Don't feel like you have to be super boxed in, right? But it's really those up strums where he's kind of given a lot of little emphasis to drive things forward. It's like a bit of syncopation, I guess, right? Okay, now when we get to the E7, we're going to use a different strum, right? We're going to bring in those up strums a bit earlier, right? Bass up, 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 down, up, bass up, 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 down, up, right? And it's really the and count after the 1 and after the 2 that we really want to give the accent to, so. Okay, so that's going to be the E7 strum, and let me do the full intro here, right? It's all 8 measures, and I'll do it with the Gordon voicings, and I'll do the regular voicings so you can hear the difference, but it's really the same thing, right? Okay, so 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and... Okay, that's pretty much going to be the entire thing. Now, if you're playing this by yourself and you want to draw it out, make it even longer, or you want to get to the E7 a bit sooner, you could do that as well. The final tip I'll say about this with the E7, to really make those up strums really stand out, what you can do is you can sort of silence the strings on that down count, on the 2 count, right? Right? When you silence that 2 count, it makes the next strum sound a little bit more pronounced because it's coming out of the silence, okay? So that's how you're going to do the intro. If you want to do it with your regular E and regular E7, E7, okay, you can kind of hear how much more major that sounded because I was doing a regular E major there. So that's how you're going to do the intro to this song. Again, ultimately remember that Gordon, in all the live versions I've watched and in the album version, he has a lot of band members, or I guess 2, other guitarists or bassists playing with him. That's able to fill things out a bit more, so it's going to be tough to get the full exact sound you hear with just one guitar, because it sounds like there's another guitar playing stuff up the neck, right? We don't have another guitar, we just have ourselves if you're learning this solo acoustic. So that's how you do the intro. Now, let's move on to the verse and the chorus here. The good thing is, there's not that many more chords to use. We're going to need the same E, whether you do the Gordon E or the regular E. So that's going to stay a constant. We're also going to have this B. Okay, I'm going to get to this B. And then we're just going to have a regular A and a regular D, which is good, okay? Makes things a bit easy. Let's look at this B now for the verse. So the verse itself is just 4 measures. It's going to be E2, 3, 4, E2, 3, 4 to B, 3, 4, and back to E, okay? Then you go into the chorus. Sundown, da, 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 da. The verse in this song is short, and usually you do it once, where the chorus you usually repeat. So again, E2, 3, 4, E2, 3, 4 to B2, 3, 4 to E2, 3, 4. Now, I'll say, I'm going to teach you a sort of the way Gordon, it looks like, plays the B, but I'm also going to teach you this B7. If you can't do this for whatever reason, you can technically use a B7, a good old B7. Lots of folks teach it this way on YouTube. It'll work. I don't think it sounds as good because this is such a... This voicing is very bright. It has this major third up here on the thinnest string, which really stands out. It is a major voicing of the B, where this is a B. Technically, it's like a B sus4, but it's a B5 also. It's not major or minor. So it's like a B power chord with the added fourth, the added sus4. So that's why I like using this one. And you'll notice that this B, whoops. Those thinnest 2 strings are open, just like in the E. Okay, so how do you play this B? 2nd, 4th, 4th on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings, right? 2nd with my index finger, 4th fret, 4th fret, okay? And then open, open. Don't play the 6th string. I think if you did play the 6th string, it probably would be okay. It would make it like a B or like an E add 6 or something. But don't worry about that. But basically, I play it like 2nd, 4th, 4th, open, open on the thinnest 5 strings. I kind of just let this finger naturally kind of bump into the 6th string. That way it mutes it just sort of by virtue of being right next to it, right? It's like an elbow on a plane of somebody who's inconsiderate and their elbow is like bumping into you and it annoys you. So that's what I'm doing here. So here's the cool part though. When you practice this B, if you're coming from this E, all you have to do is put your ring finger down. Because your pinky is where it needs to be and your index finger is where it needs to be. But I'll say this, when I'm doing this E, I'm kind of in flex mode with this finger. And when I do this B, it's a lot more of an easygoing chord. I'm not barring things anymore. I kind of go into normal mode. So the way I approach it is, even if I'm doing this, I'll unbar the finger when I play the B. Okay, so that's how we're gonna do it if you want to do it like Gordon. Now, if you want to do a regular B7, 2nd fret, 1st fret, 2nd fret, open, 2nd fret. That's a B7. You could play this without the highest string. I'm just not pushing down this thinnest string and I'm sort of lightly touching my pinky into it. So it's muted, right? That makes the chord a little less bright. You could do it that way, but again, I like this version. Even if you do a regular E here, right? I can see her lying back in her satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Even if I'm doing the regular E, I like to use this voicing for the B, okay? And if you do that, notice how your left ring finger is staying on the 4th string, right? Kind of just keep it on that string. You kind of like it doesn't have to pick up. It makes it a bit easier to transition, in my opinion. Okay, so that's how you're gonna do the B. Now, how will we play the verse? Like, what does it sound like? Well, again, very simple. I can see her lying back in her satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. I just did a single strum there. That's the entire verse. Now, you could do. For the verse and the chorus, the basic strum I recommend, if you want to keep things basic, is just do a bass, down, bass, down, bass, down, bass, down. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bass down, right? I can see you lying back in a satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Or you could do the regular E. I can see you lying back in the satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Okay, that's the natural sort of easiest way to strum things. What I like to do though is add some more up strums in there. So you could do a bass down, bass up down, up, bass down, bass up down, up, bass down, bass up down, up. Same tempo, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and on that and 4 end, notice I'm only strumming those thinnest couple strings, right? You don't need to always strum all the strings. You can keep those up down ups really light. So here's the verse how I like to play it. I'm gonna do the E, this version of the E, go up to this B, go back to this E, and I'm gonna sort of do a bass down, bass up down. Right, 1, 2, 3. I can see you lying there in a satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Okay, that's all we're gonna need for the verse. Now later on, I'm gonna show you some alternating bass note strumming you can do. I can see you lying there in a satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Sundown. Let me come back to that in a second. I want to teach you the chorus first to keep things simple, and then I can get to that more complicated alternating bass note thing there. Now for the chorus, it's pretty simple. It's just 4 measures. E, 2, 3, 3, 4 to A, 2, 3, 4 to D, 2, 3, 4 to E, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the entire thing. He just repeats it. Now again, you could use the regular E, or you could use the Gordon E, right? Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been sleeping round my back stairs. Now, let's look at this. How are we going to do it? If you could do a basic strum for your E, for your A, for your D, and for your E. So, sundown, you better take care if I find you've been sleeping round my back stairs. Sometimes I think it's a sin, and I feel like I winning again. Okay, that's a basic way to do it, or you could do a more full strum. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been sneaking round my back stairs. Right, bass note on the 1 and the 3 count, and then just up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up, up, down, up. That's what I like to do on the and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so that's going to be what you're going to do for the chorus. Now, a couple chord options here. Of course, with the E, you could do this regular, this Gordon version of the E. Now for the A, there's 2 other ways you could play the A. One is you could do an A sus2, open, second, second, open, open. Okay, don't play the 6th string. I'm sort of leaning my thumb into it here. So, sundown, you better take care. I like this because it mixes up the sound. It's not a regular A sound, but it also, it has the same open 2 strings that you get in the E and the A and this B sus4. And whenever you have consistency like that in the song, it kind of helps just develop a bit of theme or character that's like present throughout. I don't know, it's a really nice thing you can do there. Another cool thing with the A you can do is from the Gordon E, you could keep your pinky there and then move your index finger to that 2nd fret of the 4th string. So it's open, 2nd, 4th, open, open. This is another version of, this is A sus2 as well. So this is another version of A sus2, basically. You're doubling up on the B. So here's what that would sound like, right? Sundown, I think it'll be day. Da 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 da. Sometimes I think it's a sin, and I feel like I'm losing, but I'm winning again. I love doing that. I think it's a really cool thing to do. So, regular D, and then back to an E, or a Gordon E. Okay, so that's how you're gonna do the chorus. Now, a couple options here for the strumming. Alternating bass notes I find are a fun way for playing this by yourself to sort of make it sound a bit more interesting and nuanced. Again, Gordon Lightfoot has accompaniment. He has a bassist, another guitarist playing with him. That's going to allow those musicians all together to create a lot of different nuances. If you're just playing yourself and you just do this E for the whole time, it kind of, I don't know, it can sound a bit monotonous to me. So one option you can do is some alternating bass note. So for the chorus, for example, basically we're going to do a bass up, down, up, 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 bass up, down, up. And whether you use the regular E or the Gordon E, you can do the same thing. And if you miss the bass notes, it's okay. Keep that rhythm. Right? 6th string, 5th string, 5th string, 6th string, 4th string, 5th string, and okay, that's something you can do. Again, don't worry about it if your aim isn't perfect. Just keep the steady tempo. Favor the bass note or the bass strings on the 1 and the 3 count, and then just favor some lighter brushes on the up and down up. So when I play through, you'll hear me doing that. And for the verse, you could do the same thing. I think for the verse, this helps out a bit more because there's fewer chord changes, so you get a bit more diversity for the few chords you have, right? So here's. Now Now for the B, what am I doing there? I'm doing a regular E, 6th to 5th string, 6th string, to 5th string, do the 5th string for the B, but then move this left index to the 6th string, 2nd fret. And this is sort of muting the 5th string. So I'm going from this. I'm just going back and forth on the B here. Then to the E. Okay, so what would that sound like? Let's do a playthrough here and put it all together and you'll see. So this is going to be the playthrough for Sundown by Gordon Lightfoot. Thanks all very much. Again, I have the sheet music for this. It's licensed, it's officially legal and everything. Gordon Lightfoot's getting paid. You know, that's a great thing about having things licensed, so you can find the link in the description of this video. And I also do have, for my patrons, a chord guide for this song. It doesn't give you any of the tabs. It doesn't give you any of the lyrics. There's no copyrighted stuff. It's just the chord shapes with finger position. Because ultimately, whether you're playing this E or this E7 or this B, right, or this A that I talked about, those are all voicings you can use in lots of songs. So I have a write-up that's a download you can get for this as well. Some of that's included in my sheet music as well. But again, just for patrons, thanks for supporting me. I wanted to give you this to help you learn these chords. But between that and the licensed song sheet, you should be in good shape. So let's get into this playthrough of Sundown by Gordon Lightfoot. See you lying back in a satin dress in a room where you do what you don't confess. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. She's been